How's it like living in China as a black woman?
I love it. Me personally, I'm not gonna move from Beijing. Let me just tell all of you.
What are some misconceptions Chinese people have for African people?
I think the first thing they always ask me is, 你是哪里人? And then I'm always like, oh, 我是贝宁西非. And they're like, 贝宁? Oh, 没听过. Because it's quite a small country.
When I first came here, I guess I actually didn't mind it, which is odd.
Not really because they don't want to make friends with you, but they're afraid that, they can't communicate properly with you.
I feel like when people look at me, they see that I'm like a foreigner or like I'm American before they're like, oh, that's a black woman.
When you're walking around, you hear, 国外,非洲的. And it's very confusing because I've never been to Africa in my life, so...
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So this video I interview a few beautiful black ladies from the US, Cameroon, Benin, Nigeria, and Guyana to talk about what it's really like to live in China as a black woman. What are the surprises, challenges, and what are the beautiful moments they have experienced here. And a big shout out for this video sponsor, Migaku, who made it possible for me to treat those black ladies at Matcha Cafe. By the way, you are going to be blown away of how good their Chinese is. Now let's jump in.
So hi guys, I'm Mariam. I'm from Benin, West Africa. And I've been in Shanghai for like almost 2 years.
Hi, my name is Tanaka. I am a medical student here in China. I've been living here now for about 6 years. I'm from Guyana, so Georgetown, Guyana, which is in South America. So I speak English, Guyanese Creole, and a little bit of Chinese.
Hi guys, my name is Raisa in China. I've lived in China for 5 years and I'm the girl from the viral video.
A lot of people try to guess where you're from, so where are you actually from?
Okay guys, I'm from Cameroon. Cameroon speaks 2 languages, English and French, and I'm from the English part of Cameroon. I'm an international student in China and I've lived with 6 roommates together in my school dorm, so it's like we have different ways of talking and that's the reason why my accent is shaking sometimes.
Thank you so much. My name is Rachel and I'm from Nigeria. I've been in China for over 5 years. Well, I came to China to study.
So I'm Ivy. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been living in China for about like 2.5, 3 years now.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. I'm from Boston, America, and I've been in Shanghai about 7 years.
How old are you?
Okay. I first came to China when I was like very young. I was around like 6, 7 years old, and I did 2 years of boarding school in Guangzhou, and that's how I learned how to speak Chinese actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
你是怎么学会中文的？
我小时候在广州上了2年的小学，就学会中文了。
你觉得学中文难吗？
我觉得还可以，刚开始的时候可能是有点难度，因为汉字可能是有点难写的，然后我们的用普通话说的话可能是有点难，因为那个声调可能是对我们来说很难的。对。
你已经说得很好了。
没有吧？我觉得还可以吧。
你会说中文吗？
可以一点点。我上了上海纽约大学毕业了，和现在我住在上海，和我现在找一个工作。
你今天穿的这个裙子还是要连衣裙，很漂亮。你在哪里买的？
在拼多多买的。我喜欢拼多多，也很便宜啊。
多少钱买的？
应该53，那不是48。你们觉得漂亮不漂亮？所以我爱中国，因为衣服都便宜、好看、质量好。对。
可以说一点，但是这个是一个非洲的衣服呢，但是这个光是女生穿的。这个帽子也可以不穿，可以不戴，也可以戴，没问题的。
你会说中文吗？
我可以说一点点。
你学习中文多久了？
差不多10年了，在波士顿开始学习了，从高中的时候开始学习了。
说得挺好的。
一般吧，一般。
Any interesting questions Chinese people always ask you?
I think the first thing they always ask me is, 你是哪里人? And then I'm always like, 我是贝宁西非. And they're like, 贝宁? Oh, 没听过. Because it's quite a small country. So I think that opens the conversation of like where I'm from, how is it like in my country and everything. And yeah. That's usually the first thing, and then from there it leads to like many questions about like my country, the economy, and like what we eat or which language we speak and things like that. So
what are some misconceptions Chinese people have for African people?
I think the first thing is that was the first misconception I had since I was very young is people thought my skin was black because I didn't shower. So I'm like, no, I shower 2 times a day. It's always gonna be black. I mean, I'm born that way. And they might think that also because I'm black, that means my internal organs are also black, which has been very funny. But it's never out of like hatred, like I said. It's always out of like, ignorance. So you have to educate people. But yeah.
Wow, that's pretty sweet. Like you actually think it that way.
Yeah.
Because I saw some online. I mean, people can get easily offended.
I think most people or like most foreigners need to know that China has always been it was like a closed country like 50 years ago, so they're not as exposed to like international people as we were since in our country. So we have to be like nicer to them and answer kindly. Yeah,
That's very true. What kind of questions Chinese people usually ask you?
First thing is where I'm from. And then if I can speak Chinese, how long I've been speaking Chinese. And then for some odd reason, they always ask if China is better than my country. It kind of is. I mean, China's pretty advanced. But if I want to say if it's better than my country, I don't know that because I do love my country very much. But I always have to answer the same questions every day, like where I'm from, how long I've been speaking Chinese, how come my Chinese is so good, those questions, yeah.
Repetitive every day.
Every day, yes.
Okay.
So how's it like living in China as a black woman?
I love it. Me personally, I'm not gonna move from Beijing. Let me just tell all of you, I love the city so much. I feel like my life is like really good in Beijing. I've built a brand for myself in Beijing, so I'm not ready to leave. But the thing is, like the first years moving abroad is always hard. Even you, when you moved abroad, the first years were hard, right? But once you begin to when everything catches up, everything falls in place and life becomes so perfect. So I love living in Beijing as a black woman. No racism. If you talk to me about my skin, I will reply you. Yeah, if someone talks to me about my skin, I'll reply them. I'll be like, and what about you? And the thing is like, it's curiosity. They're curious as you, because I feel like in Africa, when we find like a white person or somebody passing, we'd be like, oh, he's white, he's this. That's racism as well. So they're curious as well. But it's just like sometimes maybe you're not in the mood and someone want to take a video of you and you get pissed off because you are not happy about it, So I think like it's just everyone is curious. But now China is really like advanced where things like this don't even happen on a normal basis, And like me personally, I romanticize my life. If I get into the subway station and someone wakes up from me, I sit well. I feel like, okay, you're giving me a crown as a black woman. So yeah, I feel like I take it positively.
I think it's all the mindset is different.
Yes, it's about the mindset. Very true.
Being a black woman in China is honestly, I feel like when people look at me, they see that I'm like a foreigner or like I'm American before they're like, oh, that's a black woman. And I feel like that's a lot more like freeing in a way than like being black in America, just because like it's not like my race first, it's my ethnicity first, and that gives me a lot of room to like when people look at me, they don't like think of like the stereotype of like, oh, you're like, I don't know, maybe like an angry black woman or whatever. It's more just like, oh, you're another person here, probably just like trying to figure your life out abroad, Okay.
In America, it's like they just see you as a black woman.
Like, let's say getting a job in the workplace or like going to a certain school or like being a part of clubs or your community, I would say there are a lot more like microaggressions or like passive aggressive like racism and yeah, a lot more passive aggressive like racism and all of that versus here is like if somebody's racist, I'll like know immediately, and that's just like a lot easier to navigate and deal with than someone who maybe like won't give me a job because they like secretly don't like who I am. So
how's the racism different here versus back in the States?
Yeah, racism here is, like I said, it's just very explicit. I mean, I've never experienced explicit racism from like a Chinese person here. It was from a French person, and we were like outside of the club or something. I was with my friends. This was like 2 years ago, and he like called me a monkey in front of all my friends, and like they all got super pissed off. But that was like with a French person, like not even with a Chinese person. Like I've never experienced racism with a Chinese person. Maybe like weird looks or someone like grabbing my hair or like asking me a more direct question, but that's I feel like that's more out of curiosity about who I am rather than like a hatred or dislike for who I am.
The skin of a thing during the COVID period, there was this kind of like stigma about like, the black people are the one that brought COVID to China, stuff like that. So yeah, like I had such online actually, it might not be true. Okay, so that was a bit like, that was when I felt a bit different, because when you're on the train, they kind of move away from you. Nobody want to sit beside you. So then it reminds me like, okay, I think something is going on. Okay, but I think aside that, I think things have really been different.
When I'm going out with friends or I have work or I'm doing something simple and I'm kind of minding my business, I'm not really thinking I'm in another country. But sometimes when I'm out or I'm walking somewhere or I'm going somewhere and I feel like there's a pair of eyes on me, then sometimes, I'm feeling like, okay, I'm somewhat of an outsider, yeah. When I first came here, I guess I actually didn't mind it, which is odd, because when you first come to a new place, you're kind of thinking what will be the main differences, right, and what you can and you can't get used to. So I didn't really mind it when I first came here, but after being here for a longer period of time, sometimes I just get a little bit tired, like, okay, like, I've been here a while. Not that they know that, the people who are staring, right, but it does happen. And I also do have to make one point. Sometimes when I'm online, I see some videos and it will be like a black person who's in China, right? And there'll be a bunch of people staring at them. Sometimes they'll be smoking the cigarette. Sometimes the children will just be looking, right? And there'll be a bunch of comments underneath like, if they're in a big city, Shanghai, Beijing, these types of things don't happen. These types of things don't happen. They do. They do still happen in big cities. So I just want to make that clear.
How these attentions or people's curiosity usually make you feel?
It depends on the person, and it also depends on the mood that I'm in. If I'm in a happy mood, a carefree mood, sometimes when there's tension, I don't really mind it. And sometimes when people see you, they're looking at something they've never seen in person before. So I can understand why they might be curious, right? But sometimes it's curiosity, not all the time, right? I will say that. I'll try to make that distinction.
I think living in China as a black woman or as a woman of color hasn't been anything like shocking or anything. The only problem I might have faced is people maybe staring at me, but that's normal because maybe they're not exposed to people of color usually, but it's never like racism. They're just staring out of maybe curiosity or amazement, and yeah, it hasn't been anything weird, no.
What about online? Have you received any bad comments?
Sometimes I recently opened my Xiaohongshu page, and sometimes when I post videos or pictures of me, they can be like, "Hey, Gui," or something, something like that. But I don't take offense to it because for me, it's like they're just villagers or people of no big educational background. So I guess when you're pretty, it comes with hate.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and sometimes when they have enough courage, they come up to me and they're like, "Oh, hi, you're pretty." Maybe they want to get to know me more, and I'm always free to just express myself and get to know them. But I don't think China has a racism or problem and then it hasn't affected my life in any way, no.
If you are like me, you must be amazed by how well these ladies speak in Chinese. So when today's sponsor Migaku reached out to me, I was pretty excited because these two is like a real game changer for language learners, like nothing I've seen before. Migaku is a browser extension you can install on Chrome. It works with platforms like YouTube, Netflix, and Disney+, letting you watch your favorite content with interactive subtitles. For example, here's me watching my favorite Chinese YouTuber. And with Migaku, I can enable the subtitle generator, click on words, and it automatically creates flashcards to review later. I believe this is something for visual learners or people who like to watch content. It gives you multiple pronunciation versions, so you can also hear how accents are varied across China, which is super helpful if you're trying to understand more than just standard Mandarin.
You can also use Migaku on your phone, whether you are watching YouTube or scanning menu while dining out.
But Migaku isn't just subtitles. They also offer over 380 courses for learners of all levels, an AI-powered dictionary that explains the context behind words, and even text recognition tools so you can practice reading real-world Chinese. I hope you guys can check it out. It started just from $10 a month. Now you can get a 50% off of a lifetime subscriptions. Also, any Migaku subscription you purchase gives you access to all languages they offer. So you can also learn about Spanish, German, Portuguese, Japanese, Korean, etc. Alright, next part of the video, I'm going to ask them what's the best part about living in China.
I mean, for me, I think my experiences might be a little bit different because I'm here studying, so I'm not really immersed in like the culture specifically. I'm really just at school for the majority of the time. I mean, you do get a lot of looks, like as foreigners do, like they're wondering who that black girl is, or when you're walking around, you hear, oh, 国外国外非洲的非洲的 and then like everybody's staring, so it's very interesting to see. But I don't think it's too bad. Yeah.
If you're white, you're either from America or Russia.
Yes, that's what they always
Black,
think.
it's gotta be of Africa.
It has to be Africa, and it's very confusing because I've never been to Africa in my life, so I always have to explain that I'm not exactly from Africa, but I am of African descent, you know.
When you tell people you're from Guyana, what do
Yeah.
people react?
So a lot of people don't know my country, so I have to lead with that I am from South America, and then I say Guyana, which is in South America, because when I say Guyana, they automatically think that I'm saying Ghana, which is in Africa, so I have to give them the breakdown that it's not Ghana, it's Guyana.
To be fair, I know a few countries in South America, but I didn't know Guyana.
Yes, nobody knows about my country, so it's between Brazil, Venezuela, and Suriname, so it's just bordered by those three.
Now I know.
Yes.
Cool. What's the best part about living in China?
I love the fact that everything's accessible. Life is so easy on a daily basis. Like every day you wake up and you can order food and you can order the clothes and you can just take a taxi. Transportation is cheap. You can find everything you want in China in like 1 hour. Is accessible. So this is my favorite thing about China.
Shanghai is so westernized and it's so exposed to like the Western culture, and even like the Chinese people here are very open-minded and they're very educated. And also with Shanghai is there are so many things to do, and it's always an ever-changing city, like always new things to do, like new people to meet.
What about from convenience about life? The convenience of living in China?
Very convenient, very smooth. I think that's like one of the only countries I've been to that has been so convenient in my life, because here we use our phones mostly to do most of the things, like maybe for the transport system or like pay for anything or get a cab. So as long as I have my phone, everything it can be done. You know, I only go out with my phone and my lip gloss.
For me, I would say it's like my independence here. I don't know, like I said, I just graduated, so like I've built my home here. I've built like my foundation here. I would say the food is great. I don't like Shanghainese food, but I like Chinese food in general. It's like really good. Shanghainese food is very sweet. Shanghai feels very like calm and safe. Like you can tell everyone here is very specific about like what they like, how they like things, how they do things, and I like that. I don't know if that makes sense. Like people are just very curated, but not curated for show, but curated because it's like they're genuinely doing the things that they enjoy doing. And I don't know, like I'm sure there's like maybe a word for that or a concept for that, but
I'm sure some people will find it related. What's the best part of living in China?
Probably the convenience. I've traveled around the world and I don't think anywhere else is as convenient as China is. I mean, the technological advances is really good as well. And, you know, just traveling around and you can call a car, it'll be here in 2 minutes. You can order Waimai at like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning and you get it within 30 minutes. So I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
It's very true.
Yes.
What's the trickiest part living in China?
I think the trickiest part, I have to think, it might be getting around, because I know for a fact, like foreigners that come here that don't speak Chinese, they have a very difficult time getting around. I mean, for me, it's not so difficult because I'm already fluent in Chinese. I'm able to get around. I have all the apps on my phone and things like that. But I think that might be like maneuvering like the whole Mandarin environment might be a little bit difficult.
What was your first impression when you came to China?
Well, my first impression, I was like, wow, this place is very big. And there's so many people. I think in my country we have about maybe less than 1 million people. So compared to the city that I live in, it's really small. So China, I would say, is huge. And there's always a crowd wherever you go. Like there's always a lot of people. Like on the train, if you take the metro, you're never really going to find a seat because there's so many people all the time. I think the major culture shock that I had was the toilets, like the toilet situation with like the hole in the ground. I could not get used to that in the beginning. I did not want to use them at all because I'm like, what is this? Why do I have to use it? So when I first started learning Chinese, like in my school, I would just hold it until I went back to my room because I didn't want to use the hole. But now I've been here for like 6 years, so I'm pretty used to it now, so it's okay.
Got learn that kung fu.
Yes, yes.
My main circle of friends since I've been here kind of are all Chinese because I feel like with foreigners here, there's kind of two types. There's the type 1 who will come here for a few months or for a year or two, enjoy the experience but still go back home. And then there's the type 2, the lifers who have been here for 10 years, 15 years. They're already married, they're already starting families, they've developed here, they're not leaving. Normally I don't encounter too much of type 2. I'm normally encountering type 1. So most of the foreign friends I have made, the majority have gone back.
How did you make Chinese friends?
Some people I met because they were trying to improve their English. Some people I met later on because we had mutual interests.
Is it easy to make Chinese friends or you mostly hang out with foreigners?
It's not easy to make Chinese friends. With my Chinese classmates back then, they find it so hard to make friends with you. Not really because they don't want to make friends with you, but they're afraid that, they can't communicate properly with you. Okay, so most of the time when I meet with my Chinese friend, I start with Chinese, so they feel comfortable. Then later on they're like, you can speak English, can you teach me English? And, that is how we go on. But I think most of them are not, it's not like they're not friendly, but they have this fear of like speaking, like, how do I communicate with her? So due to that, I didn't have a lot of like Chinese friends as well, yeah.
So shyness.
Yeah, they are shy, yes, they're shy. But when they later get along with you, they're very cool. Yeah, I have a lot of cool Chinese friends, yeah. And we communicate both in English and in Chinese, so it makes the relationship much more stronger.
That's cool. You have a nice chest.
Thank you so much.
So I have a last topic about your student life.
Yeah.
So you are a full-time medical school student.
Yes.
How's the experience studying medical here?
I think it's really good. I think studying medicine here is probably like one of the best things that I probably chose to do with my life, simply because I get like a lot of exposure here in China. I mean, a lot of the diseases and stuff like that I come in contact with, I probably would not see them outside of China, so it's a lot more exposure. Like some of the things you learn about in the textbooks, you wouldn't see outside of China, you can see them here. And like the technology and things like that, I think it's really advanced, so it's really good. A lot of times I would be sitting in the classroom and the teacher would come into the room and then they would check their phone to make sure they're in the right classroom because they're wondering what this foreign student is doing here. And I'm like, yes, I belong here. And then they're like, do you really understand Chinese? And I have to answer that question. Yes, I do. They're like, oh, where'd you learn? How long did it take you to learn? And so it's very interesting. And then interacting with the patients as well in the hospital, it's very interesting because they don't expect, this foreign student to be speaking fluent Chinese. So it's interesting.
Because you're also doing Chinese social media.
Yeah.
I know that Chinese social media, especially WeChat channel, Douyin, you receive a lot of racism comments. And how do you handle those comments?
And sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't. Like a few days ago when I posted a video on WeChat channel, someone was like, you black monkey, go back to your country. And I told him, can you pay fees abroad? You cannot live abroad. So why will you be insulting someone? Do you know how much it costs to stay abroad before you are saying rubbish to somebody? And I replied him like this, and he came back 2 days ago, and he was like, you need to leave the country or whatever. And I was just like, I don't care about him, I understand that everything you do, they have criticism, and they have people who are going to like disturb you or like just have something to fall on, but it's not their fault. If they travel abroad, then they will see the same thing. But as long as they are still like living in this environment, I don't care.
So how's the racism different from Chinese social media versus like online in person? I
think online in person, they might actually drag someone like on the foreign TikTok, they literally drag you like, oh, you are doing this for this. But in the Chinese social media, they use insults like you monkey, you animal, you this, and they use other words. So it's a little bit weird. This is my Chinese friend. You show hello.
Hello，
对，
我刚才买你的香水，
谢谢。
对，所以说我要给你照相。
Hi.
OK，我爱中国。OK，Thank you。
Yeah, so that's just an example. You see, some of them are really nice. You just be like, okay, it's energy. They're nice to you, be nice to them, and they go. If they're bad to you, be bad to them, and you go, you know. And yeah, when I came to China, whenever I go to the subway, I stand up for the old people to sit. But after some time, I feel like the old people are the racists. So when they come, I sit too. Like, okay, you want to stand because if I walk up, you will be bad to me. So I will sit down and you will stand up, and it's easy, you know.
So like online, there's a lot of racism. Have you ever experienced the same in person, or just online is online, in person is in person?
Actually, I've never experienced racism in person like this. I think maybe if someone touches your skin and be like, oh, is it real or this? It's okay. I feel like it's okay for them to do like this. But if they start, because some people are really curious, I feel like that's curiosity, you know. But if someone be like, oh, your skin is too dark, get out of here, then I'll feel like that's them being racist. But if they just ask like, why is your skin so dark and this, I think it's just being curious. Yeah.
So it's more like a
Mindset.
curiosity and ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance, that's the word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's okay to ask questions.
欢迎大家关注 Raisa 的频道。
对，喜欢的朋友多多关注啊！感谢大家的支持。
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good, right? Let's do this.
Alright, thank you very much for watching the video. So what do you guys think? Feel free to leave in the comments. As a Chinese person myself, I think the most racist place in China is actually on the internet. If you are black and they posting your pictures or whatever you're doing in China, I guarantee every post you post, you're gonna receive hate. I also interviewed half black, half Chinese people in China and the comments was scary. Unfortunately, that's the truth. But it's crazy that I interviewed a black guy. He is born and raised in China and he speaks perfect Chinese. He even speaks multiple dialects. If you'd like to know about his story, you can check out the video. So I post the same video in China and also Western medias. Surprisingly, in Chinese medias, he didn't get much hate. And people were saying, wow, I think he is Chinese. I don't understand. That's everything I wanted to share. I can't talk much about it since I'm Chinese. Next video, I will interview interracial couples. Oh, trust me, this video is super interesting. Alright, stay tuned. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Okie dokie. Hey, okay, let's do it.
With my hands. Sure.
Okay.